Hi guys, Stugu here with a new video, and this video will be my Elemental Shaman preview video for the War Within. And there's a lot of changes. I'm going to discuss every single change. I'm going to show you two builds that I think will be quite good. Now again, there is still tuning going up. I still think a lot of things needs to be changed, for sure. I still think that some tree aspects can be changed to give you a bit of a better feeling, but overall, I am satisfied of the direction. I'm going to give you first and foremost a prelude, and it is pretty much saying Lava Surge is a bit less instant proccing like it is on Dragonflight. Now, there's a few reasons. First and foremost, we don't have the same haste levels as on Dragonflight. So obviously, you're going to get less lava surges. And I would say it is kind of optimized around 3 targets. So if you're doing duels or if you're doing twos, it does feel also that it never really procs. The build, like the builds, also wants you to not only do lava bursts, because if you're only doing that, you're going to cast some lava bursts, and it doesn't really feel that good because of lava burst not hitting or critting obviously for the amount that you would expect it to crit. Now they also kind of changed the mastery, which again an overload doesn't do as much damage, so there should be a bit of tuning on the lava burst itself, because right now the lava burst, how much it deals damage, is kind of based on the overloads that we had before you had lava burst actually throwing 3 lava bursts, 80k, 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 which is 240k, right? Which is a big amount. It is like a big monster strike on Dragonflight. But right now you're doing, like, for example, 850k, and then you're doing 200k and sometimes another 200k, which obviously are not the same numbers. So it should get a buff. You could get a buff by yourself by playing Volcanic Surge and get rid of the instant properties that you could have in Lava Burst, but that is not really the taste for everyone, which I understand. But let's talk about Elemental Shaman. It got a lot of changes, especially on the class tree. Let's talk about the class tree again. I did do that on the Enhancement Shaman video, so if you want to skip this portion, I understand. But I will tell you why it is good for Elemental Shaman. First and foremost, I've cooked up a build that I could play, I would say, in the future. If I'm doing arenas or RPGs or RPGs or solo queue RPGs, that build would be the one that I would play. I also have a second build up, and I was cooking for the third build, but I think I need a lot more testing to be confident about talking about that. But this one is a build that you could be playing right now, right, on the War Within. So we're still playing with Grave Purge. We have Gust of Wind, which is now at 22nd CD. You had to spend 2 extra points, to like 3 points in total to get that. Now you only have it for 1 point, which is a big value talent, to be fair. You could also play Spirit Walk if you're playing versus Balance Druid, for example. It can help you, especially if you feel like the Root Beam is going to go for you. I still think Astra Shift should be something you can cast while you're stunned, especially for Enhancement Shaman, but for Elemental Shaman, I would like to see that as well. Yeah, you still go for the good old Earth Shield with Elemental Orbits because it's too good. We have Ancestral Guidance, but there's a world where you don't play with that and you play with other talents. But it is easy access for us. We have Thunderstorm, and now we have Traveling Storms for free, which is a PvP talent that I used to play in RPGs. Now you can play it also in arenas, so you can actually like help your allies for kiting a bit. It is actually exceptional if you have a melee that already used his charges or whatever, and you pushed away from your friends, and then your friend is using a mobility spell. It can help for grading gap, which is very fantastic. We have Lightning Lasso again, obviously. Totemic Projection, which is always going to be very useful, especially if you're playing with your Static Field Totem. Issue is with Static Field Totem is it is a totem that is now a 1.5 minute CD, unfortunately, but it is going to still see some play, especially for this build. We have now also Seasoned Winds, which is also a great talent. Got nerfed, like I said, on the Enhancement Channel video, but it is now for free. You don't need the PvP talent for that, which is quite huge. We have Earth Elemental now on the right side of the tree. It's a bit easier to take in my opinion, because you get chain lightning for free, and then you can just take bringing for life, which is something that you're always going to take, and then earth elemental. If you really want and you're not going for nature spells or whatever, you could go for primordial wave. I like the 5%, like the 4% increased critical strike chance. We have also Wild Rush Totem. Now you can take it. Now I'm trying to test with it around, but the issue is I don't like enhanced imbues, because it doesn't help an elemental shaman at all, because you are doing nothing with your weapon imbues pretty much. But if you're saying, look, I don't want an extra keybind or whatever, you can just take this away, and you can go, for example, with enhanced imbues, and then you can go for totemic surge, or you can take totemic focus. So you have choices that you can do and take. You can also take the 5%, because you have a lot of the time a fire elemental or an earth elemental. But yeah, those are the options that you can go for. Obviously, for the video, I'm going to keep what I have right now, so we have an easier time to talk about it. We have Stone Bulwark Totem, which is a great totem. It's a 2-minute CD, but you can have like every 2 minutes actually have a second Stone Bulwark. So you could do Stone Bulwark, directly Totemic Recall, and then once your totem is finito people, or literally done or absorbed, you can just throw another one, and you would have like every 2 minutes an extra CD for you. You could also go for a additional totem, but there are not a lot of totems that you can pair with. You could go for maybe a second Tremor totem or whatever. It can help, but I like the CDR on it. So that was pretty much it, though. You also have a 60% Frost Shock now, Snare, which is very good, because you are playing with Icy Fury and Fusion of Elements and Flux Melting and such. So we have a lot of things to discuss on the spec tree, but that is pretty much for the Elemental Shaman tree. We also have an Extreme Totem being able to be interesting with the elemental resistance, which is giving you a bit of resistance towards fire, frost, and nature, which can help versus balanced druid, can help versus mages, or even destruction warlocks with fire damage, for example. But it's not like, it's very situational, so not a fan of that. Overall, have I missed anything? Pretty much every single like 2-point talent node is gone. There's nothing that gives you the ability to put 2 points into one node, so it gives you more interesting paths. Nature's Guardian is a full buff. Elemental Warding is a full buff, which is a great thing going on. So I think the class tree is a huge success for both Elemental Shaman, Restoration Druid Shaman, and also Enhancement Shaman. So that's a good thing. Elemental Shaman. About the builds now. Let's talk about the tree changes a bit so you can understand. We have now Earth Shock or Elemental Blast as a choice node. I did try Elemental Blast. I kind of like it. The issue is it is a cast time and it is 80 Maelstrom. So you gotta choose if you want to have easier times with your instance, or if you want to have a bigger hitting ability, because I already did a 3.8 million elemental blast, I think, whenever everything was up, which is a lot of damage. Like, it's half HP, so it's cool to play around that. If it crits and you put your ancestral swiftness and it does crit, it does a lot of damage. But it's probably not for the weak. For the weak, I would say, because you kind of have to cast, and I think most elemental shamans are like not really okay with casting, which I understand, but I think if you want to remove the mobility of the out of the game, you need to give back casting times to all the casters, and then you can remove like mobility and like micro CC. As long as you have like a lot of instance, I think people should have ways to stop you or to catch you. I say that as a shaman main, I say that as a hunter main, I say that as a warrior main, as a warlock main. So in general, I prefer to have like no mobility and more casting times. But I think in retail it's like far gone, so I don't think it's going to happen. The changes. Now, Earthquake is unfortunately something you will always have to take. Was always the case though, but this kind of sucks. But you don't even need to keybind it in PvP. If you are PvPing, don't keybind it. Flash of Lightning is quite good because it's critical strike chance, and since we're not really building too much crit, it is a good thing. We have Ice Fury now, which is a instant cost, so it's a chance on. Unfortunately, it is an RNG spell that you would get from Lava Burst, so it changes your Frost Shock, and it can stack up to 2 times. And whenever you have Ice Fury, it does a little damage, but it will improve your 2 Frost Shocks, which does crazy amount of damage now. It generates Maelstrom and also slows for 60%. So that's quite nice. Once you have done a Ice Fury, the next time you cast a Nature and a Fire spell, you additionally cast a Elemental Blast. So basically you need to do a Lava Burst into a Lightning Bolt, or you need to do a Lava Burst into a Earth Shock, you need to do a Lava Burst into, I don't know, a Chain Lightning or a Lightning Lasso, you can do that as well. Or you do a Flame Shock into a Lightning Bolt, or do a Flame Shock into an Earth Shock. So you have to combine 2 spells. So they want you to use your whole repertoire of abilities, which is a good thing, don't get me wrong. But it will you will have to get used to. But it will give you a great amount of burst. Like Elemental Blast, if you get it with the right amount of damage, like if you have like your Stormkeepers and you have like an instant Lava Burst with like, let's say a Lava Surge, or you're doing a Ascendance, it will do immense amount of damage. Or potentially it will do immense amount of damage because the balancing needs to still happen. But it really does a lot of damage, especially with your tier set, which I have for testing purposes. I have it, so it will do 25% more damage on Earth Shock and also Elemental Blast. It is like tied together, and whenever you're spending Maelstrom, it grants you 5% critical strike chance and also 10% increased critical strike damage, which is going to help you with, at the end, finishing off your targets. So that's great. I don't like the spellbook on the talents and spellbook like button. I really hate it, but that aside, we have now Storm Frenzy, because whenever you're doing an Earth Shock or Elemental Blast, it will reduce the cast time of Lightning Bolt, and it can accumulate up to 2 charges, which is good because then you have no real problems to do a Lightning Bolt. The cast times are very, very low, so there's always an occasion for you to do a Lightning Bolt or even Shade Lightning, so that's a good thing. We also have like Lightning Conduit, so if you have Lightning Shot, which you should always have on anyways, it will give you 8% nature damage. It's a nice thing, although it's a bit boring. It's still nice to have. Thundering Strike Ward, which is like imbuing your shield. It's useless, it does little damage. I personally don't like it. As long as it is like literally doing 0.1% of the HP of the people. So do not get that. It is a bait talent for now until they balance it. If they balance it to be actually doing like 1% damage of the enemy, I could maybe understand. But really right now it is like 16k on a 7 million HP like target. So it will not do anything basically. Eye of the Storm is a huge nerf though. Like you now cannot do really back-to-back Earth Shocks, except if you're playing with Swelling Maelstrom. What I do see is that you need a lot of points to get the things that you want, and they removed a lot of 2-point nodes, but they added so much like kind of not filler talents, but they added like talents that you could easily like bring them together. Like I think Searing Flames should be brought with Flames of the Cauldron, personally, because it is a great talent. You have to have it, but it is a chance on to generate 2 Maelstrom. So that's not that good talent. Improved Flame Tongue Weapon, it's a 5%. I think it just needs to be baseline, basically, because it was that like this back in the day, so why not do that? Flow of Power is cool, but they could easily have put it like together with something. I think it's very hard to get those talents because you have a lot of talents that you want to pick because it seems good. You could maybe remove Storm Frenzy, but then you will lose Lightning Conduit, so you will lose those 2 points, and you can put on Flow of Power and improve Flame Tongue Weapon, for example. Everlasting Elements is cool, 20%, which would give you a 6 seconds increase on Fire Elemental, which is not that bad. but I find it not useful right now. Earth and Rage is not a talent I really like, and it doesn't do too much damage. I think it's low values for how deep it is. It should be like brought up a bit more if you want me to pick it. Primordial Wave now, you have Splintered Elements, is still like a thing. We have Magma Chamber, which is indeed a nerfed state, but it is still there, so you kind of have to pick it. Primal Elementalist is still something you are going to take. We have like Echo Chamber doing like 10% more damage on elemental overloads, which I said is a nerfed state, so it's not that good, but you need to take it to get Stormkeepers, which is unfortunate. Stormkeeper is still always going to be awesome to play with, and whenever you're going to activate Stormkeeper, it's going to summon a powerful lightning elemental to fight by your side for 8 seconds, which is, it is not bad. It actually does some good damage, but it does break CC, so be careful because it does chain lightning. So maybe not take it if you are afraid of breaking CC. Lightning Rod is still going to be interesting if you're playing like a Lightning Rod build. We have now Ascendance and Deeply Rooted Elements separated, but also you have a talent that can improve your Ascendance, which is basically the cooldown of Ascendance is reduced by 60 seconds, or your haste is increased by 25% while Ascendance is active. And that also works for Deeply Rooted Elements. So that is a good talent if you are willing to play around your Deeply Rooted Elements as well. If you're like very lucky, you're going to have a lot of haste. If you're not lucky, I think it is probably the better choice to get like 2-minute Ascendance, so you have a 2-minute burst every single time. Ascendance is, unfortunately, not really a great 2-minute CD, or even a 3-minute CD for that matter. Because if you are like comparing to Metamorphosis, if you're comparing to Icy Veins, if you're comparing it with Celestial Alignment, it is just an underwhelming talent, I'm going to be fair. Because first and foremost, the model really sucks. It improves your lava burst because of your crit, and crit is not really something you want to go for, except if you're going for the cheesy build, which I understand. It refreshes your flame shocks, which is quite nice. It is really good, but it can also get dispelled, so whatever. It does instant cast lava burst, which is going to like do some good damage, but it's not like amazing damage. So I understand like some people don't like Ascendance. I personally like Ascendance. I wish it was also a 2-minute CD for Enhancement Shaman, and I would maybe shut up about Enhancement Shaman. But right now it is not the case. So right now we do what we have, available. And then you still have Elemental Equilibrium. Now you cannot track it for some reason, so they want you to use weak auras, which kind of sucks. And then you have like some AoE talents or talents that are not that good. For example, Mountains Will Fall is not that good. Echoes of Great Sundering is a PvE talent. Although it can seem like interesting because it does 120% additional damage, it is still like very low. It will do like in total a 700k, which is not that good for a spender, because I remember for you guys it is a spender ability. It is not free. If it was free, maybe, but it is not free, so I prefer Earth Shocks. Liquid Magma Totem, you can maybe play around with, but it will break CC first and foremost, but also yeah, it's a 1-minute CD. If it was a 30-second CD, maybe I would be try to play with it, but right now it is just not good enough for PvP. A few things that we got for the PvP talents. We got Shamanism, which is very good. It gives you a haste buff, and you can pair it with Primordial Wave, and every Primordial wave you will have will give you a extra haste buff, plus also the haste buff you get from Splintered Elements. So like I said, even though you feel like you're going to cost a lot more, it will actually feel like you are going to hypercast most of the time, and it's very hard to stop a hypercast. Like a very short cast is sometimes even more bait to kick than anything you can actually cast like normally. So it will feel like a kind of trap for the melee player to actually react on that. So there is that. I'm going to talk about the build pretty much. This build, which is the lava burst build, I would talk about like more of an elements build, because you're using every single thing, but it doesn't do too much lightning bolt damage except for your stormkeepers. But your lava burst is doing a lot of work. Your earth shocks do a lot of work. Your frost shocks does a lot of work. You have multiple burst options with primordial wave with heroism, of blood or bloodlust for horde players. You have your ascendance, which also does a lot of damage. You have your deeply rooted elements for the RNG aspect, and overall you have your elements that are still in place to deal some good consistent damage, but also your burst damage with meteor, for example, for fire elemental. So you have still a lot of things going on. You have a lot of value on the class tree, you have a lot of value on spec tree, and the only thing I see is pretty much some balancing. The unfortunate part is the hero talents. Farseer is very boring in my opinion. It does add a bit of damage, but it does seem like your mastery all over again. It just does like overloads, which is cool, but it is like again a cheap version of mastery in my opinion. You have some like things, for example, like more damage lava, but also an additional charge, more maelstrom, which is always going to be nice, more spenders damage, which is also always going to be nice. You have your ancestor spells doing more damage, or you have more chances to get an ancestor. It reduces the CD of fire elemental, which is cool. You have Earthen Communion to give you more heals on your Earth Shield, or you can go for Natural Harmony, which is also not that bad, to be fair. And Ancestral Swiftness, which is quite cool because I would say it has value if you play with Elemental Blast. But right now, I would say it has value for example, if you want to have an instant lava burst to get it going, or a instant lightning bolt, which is not going to do so much damage. But maybe if you're like playing the right builds, you can make it work. But I would say Elemental Blast is a talent that you can play around. So I'm going to show you with Elemental Blast how it works, because I think Earth Shock, everyone knows how it works, so I'm not going to show it. But this build is actually not that bad. So if you're like flame shocking everyone like you should be, you're going to frost shock everyone to slow everyone. And here you're going to do a burst. Boom, you have your heroism up, and pretty much you can actually have a lot of damage. Do I have my heroism up? I don't have it for some reason. I don't know why. I didn't talk about the Scar Fury mastery, but I'm going to talk about it afterwards. But you see, the damage I do is actually not that bad, and the playstyle is actually not that bad as well. And whenever you're doing a instant elemental blast, it gets everything going, right? So you can do a lot of damage just overall by doing your burst, and then you try to do your fire elemental whenever you want, and you can actually do a lot of damage. I think the issue is with my macro, it doesn't work. If my macro actually works, it does some okay damage. But overall, I think you can have fun with Elemental Shaman. For me, it's for sure a better basis on how you can build a spec compared to, I would say, Dragonflight, where it was all about those lava surges, like instant procs, which is cool. Again, I understand. Not everyone wants to play with that. I have to click on it because it's not keybinded. But you have a lot of burst, right? You have a lot of burst, you have a lot of haste. I have 88% haste whenever everything is proccing. So it does good damage. And overall, if I'm going to check the damage that I'm doing right now, here if I'm doing a lightning bolt, it will do an elemental blast, boom. It does some good damage. And this build is about like elemental blast. You could do also with Earth Shock, but I think with Ancestral like Swiftness, I think it's kind of the purpose to have like your Elemental Blast going with your Ancestral Swiftness. And overall, I think the damage is really good. Like, I think the potential of, let's say, Elemental Shaman is really high. It just needs some buffs here and there or some nerfs. Like here, for example, I have like 22% damage on Elemental Blast. I understand it is a casted ability, but like I said, with 88% haste, like I'm going to show you. I'm going to try to build for the Maelstrom, and then I'm going to do a burst on your on a dummy. Let's try to get like my things going. Okay, so now I have all my abilities available. I'm going to Heroism, and this is a 1.4 seconds cast time, which is not that bad. And especially if I have like everything going with my haste, it's now a 1 second cast time. 1 second is huge. Like, you can really do a lot of damage based on that. And yes, it is a casted ability, but I think it's okay, you can still play around that. And if you are like uncomfortable to cast like elemental blast, which I understand, you can also have like ancestral swiftness. Boom, it's a 3.4k elemental blast, which is really not that bad, to be fair. So to resume the damage, like elemental blast doing like a 3.4 million damage, it's not that bad. We have like 5 hits, we cast it only 3 times, so you have a lot of value with your ice fury. Afterwards you're doing a lava burst into your lightning bolt or whatever to get that extra elemental blast. You could also have just elemental blast. If you're casting elemental blast after it, it also works. So I'm going to try to farm the ice fury if I can. I'm going to try to farm it. I'm lagging as like I hate it. I really hate the lag on the PTR, but unfortunately it's NA. It is what it is. I'm going to try to get my Ice Fury so I can show you guys. So I have an Ice Fury, right? I'm going to do Ice Fury into a Primordial Wave, for example. And it is elemental damage. Like, Primordial Wave is elemental damage, so if you're doing a Primordial Wave, you're going to get a free elemental blast. And then you're going to do Ancestral Swiftness, and boom, you have a 4 million... it's insane. 4 million crit elemental blast. Guys, I have 7 million HP, by the way. It's a lot of damage. Like, trust me, like, this is not bad. It is actually very good. And you can do a lot of damage with just elemental blast, boom, boom, boom. It actually feels good. Now, the issue is the balancing. We'll have to see if it is going to keep like this. And understandable, you have to cost a bit more. But guys, you're doing 1.2 million frost shocks. You're doing, okay, 800k lava burst, which is not that much. I'm going to be honest. Like, it is underwhelming, especially since like mastery is nerfed. You have your elemental blast actually like critting for insane amounts, and you have a high crit chance on elemental blast, by the way, because everything that is going to buff your nature spell crit is also getting buffed. It will get elemental blast buffed as well. Your lightning bolt does some okay damage. You have ice furies doing some pitiful damage, but it is based to buff your frost shock, so it's good. Your elemental storm, like the lightning storm, elemental storm, will be procced because of your stormkeeper, so it's a free pad, like a free pad damage. And you have your ancestors, which are very bad, but yeah, it is what it is, right? But overall, this build is really fun. Let's talk about the raid buff that you get. Like, you can also use it as a party buff. 2% mastery, which is quite good. And the mastery from elemental shaman is now elemental and physical damage being increased. And then you have your overload damage, which is really nerfed. So it's 35% increased damage, basically. And generates less maelstrom. So it is not really that good, but understandably, it can only get buffed. You will go for haste. Like, I can't imagine you're going for mastery first, primary, secondary stat. But there's a world where you do build some crit, but right now you build haste and verse. Unfortunately, the 4 set gives you little haste and little verse. But it is what it is, though. I think the 4 piece is very good, so you're going to build that in PvP anyways. And yeah, that's it. Now let's talk about the second build. I want to talk about the second build. It's about Stormbringer, which is not my favorite hero talent for Elemental Shaman because it does little damage. Like Tempest does little damage, and it's very hard to build for 400 Maelstrom. And you're not like spamming lightning bolts, but you can play around Volcanic Surge. So with this build, you still have a lot of benefits going on for your haste. You still need to play around heroism. I don't know why it doesn't let me cast heroism at the same time, but it doesn't. But whatever. Yeah, I'm going to put that on my bar so I can actually test it and let you guys see. So with this build, you're pretty much playing like the old crit build for Elemental Shaman, right? So you have Primordial Wave, you have Stormkeepers. You have your Ascendants, and you can do your biggest go ever. I'm going to show you the damage it can do. So I'm going to do my 3 Flame Shocks, which is very important. And oh yeah, okay, that was my instant Stormkeepers, which is good. So now I have everything up, and if I want to do a burst, it's pretty much like primordial wave into heroism, into your stormkeepers, into a lava burst cast, into a ascendance, and you can do pretty much a lot of damage with just this. And it does insane amount of damage. It does insane amount of damage. Like, if you actually are going to burst someone with this, you can actually like insta gap someone. And it is a 2-minute CD on your ascendance. And obviously it's interesting because your Tempest, and obviously I get a bug, but I'm going to talk about that anyways. Your Tempest is a insane ability if it got buffed. So if it was actually good, it would be insane, but it is actually very bad for Elemental Shaman. The reason is the damage is very low. If the damage was actually respectable, it would be insane because it is a cast time that you cannot interrupt. So people are going to kick you on Tempest while not knowing it is unkickable. So for that aspect, Tempest can work in PvP. The issue is it does like literally no damage. So there is no real reason to play around Tempest. And also it doesn't get the properties from your Volcanic Surge, nor it does get it from Stormkeeper. So obviously it's not that great. So it needs to get buffed, but I think if it gets buffed, it can be a good build that you can play around. Now, is it going to be my main build? I don't think so. I think you still are going to play Farseer, even if you are going to play a build about lightning bolts and stormkeepers and doing like a insane ascendance go. And you kind of need to build around crit because you want to be able to do a big like lava burst go. But yeah, I think overall, if you would say like, look, Thomas or Togre, you get your Elemental Shaman right now, how it is right now, and you get buffs on the things that you think it is going to be not that good right now if it would come out. I would say sign me up, because I think the current Elemental Shaman, I would say, which one was it? I think it's this one or not. I lost the info on the Stormkeeper go. I'm going to do another time. I'm going to restart the go again, and we'll have to see if it's going to work or not. My macro is gone, obviously, but I'm going to do without a macro. So let's do it again. I'm going to show you my go, and then I'm going to let you see the damage it does. So Flame Shock everyone. I can also have my Fire Elemental up if you want to. Boom. And if I'm ready for doing my go, I can basically do a Stormkeepers into a Primordial Wave, into a Heroism, into a Lava Burst, into a big Ascendance. And then I have my damage, and my Ascendance didn't go off, obviously, because it lags, which is insane. Please make it a EU server, because then I can test properly. But this damage is really good. And you see, Tempest, if I'm casting it, it is like unstoppable. But it does little damage, which I'm going to show you. But overall, I'm actually very satisfied. Like, I personally think I'm going to have a lot of fun with Elemental Shaman. Maybe you think it is a downgrade for Dragonflight, since Dragonflight, and understandable, it is not like an instant casting machine. But it still has a lot of things that you can play around to do a lot of damage. Again, you can kite people, you can push people with Thunderstorm, you still have Unleash Shield, so you can still like push people away from you, so you can kite. Obviously you have like 3 PvP talents, so you cannot have everything, but trust me, if you have like 80% haste, and that's a minimum, I think once you have better gear, you can have even more. And I don't have enchants, I don't have gems on. You could have insane amount of haste, which is going to help you with your damage. Now I'm going to show you how pitiful Tempest is. Tempest did 300k damage, which is not a lot. That's really low. Like 300k on a 7 million HP is not going to do a dent. But Lightning Bolt actually does some okay damage. You have your Overlords, obviously, which is the 200k. But overall, normal hits, like 700k normal hit is not that bad. Like for example here, 985k crit, which is not that bad for a very low cast time if you're playing with Volcanic Surge. But I'm going to show you the overall damage, right? So you have your Lava Burst, which is doing 1 million damage with Volcanic Surge, and also with Ascendance. I think, again, if you want to do like the best amount of Lava Burst damage, you need to build crit. It is what it is. You have your Elemental Blast, which I'm not spec'd into it. So that is purely the Elemental Blast for doing your fire and nature damage after Ice Fury, which is pretty simple to do, to be fair. You have your Flame Shock, especially since you can also like pair it up with Primordial Wave, which is going to be instant Elemental Blast afterwards. I did a Frost Shock of 3.8 million. Okay, so I don't want to hear anyone say that the instant damage of elemental shaman is low, because it is not. Yes, you're doing a lot less instant damage, I understand. It is not like Dragonflight, but it is still a high contender of being like a 8-tier spec for PvP. Minimum. If it gets like a buff, it would be going S tier. Trust me, I think in 3v3, if you're playing with caster cleaves, you play with a destruction warlock or affliction warlock, they ain't going for you, man. You are free to cast, and trust me, if you're free to cast, you're going to deal way more damage than in Dragonflight. And it is without the balancing in mind. I think they still need to balance Lava Burst to be doing a bit more damage. Because I think if I'm going Ascendance and I do only 1 million Lava Burst, it doesn't do that much damage. But if it gets like a 20% buff, for example, then we're talking. And Earth Shocks doing also some respectable damage. 500 came like normal hit, which is not that bad, to be fair. If it crits, it's around 1 million, maybe a bit more. But obviously, if you can play around Elemental Blast, I would suggest to do so, because your damage is highly increased. Like this is, like it can hit and crit very high. So if you can play around Elemental Blast, why not? Your Lightning Rod does some okay damage. Your Ice Fury does some pitiful damage, but sometimes it can crit for a lot. Primordial Wave is really not doing too much damage, but it's not really made for that as well. Your Primal Fire Elemental, if you're doing Meteor, it's going to do okay damage. I didn't press it, but obviously, I think overall, Elemental Shaman is in a great state. I think it just needs some buffs, and that's it. I think the trees are well made. You have a lot of playstyle changes you can do. If you're saying, F it, I don't want to play around nature damage, you take this out, you take this out. You could easily take something else out, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Fury of the Storms and Lightning Rod, and you can then play around your fire damage. So you're going to Flame Tongue, for example. You can play around your Flow of Power to get like increased Maelstrom. You can go for even Elemental Equilibrium if you want to. You can even play with Skybreaker's Fire Demise to get more Flame Shock damage and more CDR on your Fire Elemental. You could also say, look, I want to have a mix of both. You can play the first build that I've shown you, which is very good as well, because you have your Stormkeepers, you have your Elemental Blast, you have your Fire damage, you have your Frost damage, you have your Nature damage, and you can have a lot of fun. I think even with this build you can play with Volcanic Surge, but again, some people like the instant damage of Lava Burst, which I understand, so you could also just be gone of the Volcanic Surge build. I do feel like it's a bit of a bug, because 45% increased damage on Lava Burst should be hitting and critting way higher, but it is what it is though. Anyways, let me know what you think about Elemental Shaman. It has been a long video, but I really wanted to reassure you guys. I personally think it's very fun. Again, it really lags a lot on PTR, so doing proper games on BGs or arenas is very tough for me, because I get really ragey, because I sometimes just lag, or I get like a exit error where it just closes my clients and then the soul shuffle is done for everyone. I don't like that, so I prefer to not do it until it is fixed, or until I don't like as much on the PTR. Unfortunately, I do lag as much on PTR, so... But I know on live, this is going to be my main. I think Shaman is going to be my main for Enhancement Shaman, for Elemental Shaman. I'm even going to play Restoration Shaman. I have 2 Shamans up. I'm going to level them both. One is going to be more of a Haste Shaman. The other one is going to be a Mastery Shaman, where I can play also Restoration Shaman as well on that. And there we go. We can have a lot of fun with it. But overall, let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. If anything, I'm very happy about Elemental Shaman. I'm a bit sad about Enhancement Shaman. And Restoration Shaman looks good, although I'm very sad about, spoiler alert, like Stormkeepers being gone. I think it's a huge mistake. But anyways, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye.